Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So tonight's video is going to be a bit of a weird one because we've got a performance that we will be looking at, and the artist who is performing is being interviewed before the live performance, and they give their view on the modern day music industry and how technology is taking over and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to be an interesting one. Just to mention as well, the recent videos that I've done on, last year, Eagles performances from Las Vegas, where we found that there's lip syncing, miming going on for lead vocals and backing vocals, and the backing vocals in some places were copied and pasted. So you've got what I said was a bit weird, that the guys on stage will know that it's not really happening what they're doing, and they're not actually providing the lead vocal, and it's all strange to me. But in this particular video tonight, we're going to be taking a look at Joe Walsh, and he's going to be performing with Daryl Hall. And Daryl had this show called Live from Daryl's House, where he invited musicians on to then perform songs together with him in what looks like a barn. And I think the appeal of that show was that, I say it was seemingly a live performance, and it's going to be unedited, and it's just raw music, for what it is. But I've been asked to look at a few of those performances, and more often than not, it is a very clear-cut case that it's not unedited, and we do have heavy tuning going on with vocals, for example. Maybe it's a shock to some people that Live from Daryl's House isn't unedited, and that things have been changed and pitch corrected and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm going to do is get this on screen, and we'll jump into just a part of the interview with Joe, and then we'll jump into a part of the live performance. So let's have a listen to this.
And you can tell in the music that's out now, it's all been programmed. There's no mojo. There's nobody testifying. There's not the magic of a human performance, which is never perfect. And the magic of a human performance is what we all know and love in the old records, by the way they were made. And it's all gone. So we'll see what the digital age has in store. And that, I thought, was a good undercurrent to put in my album.
So he's just talking about the motivation for his album, and we're just going to jump into the live performance, and it's going to be isolated vocals here.
You're running around like a crash test dummy all over the map. You're doing this, you're doing that, one thing after another.
So, and this is where it is now weird, because Joe has quite clearly said before this performance about how technology is taking over, and everything now has lost the human element, and that the point about the human performance is the human part of it. It's never going to be perfect, because humans aren't perfect. But then we jump to a vocal that has been calibrated to A440 standard pitch equal temperament, i.e. ridiculously auto-tuned. I mean, this is ridiculous. Listen to it.
You're running around like...
And here we can see E4 absolutely just as on the line of A440 that you can get.
Like a crash test dummy.
And even here, dummy, going down here to the D4, that was a split second, but it's been calibrated. So, I mean, this leaves me with so many questions, because I genuinely believe that Joe believes what he's saying, and he doesn't agree with this, but this is him doing this. So you think, well, what is going on? That he's dead set against technology and, auto-tune, tuning vocals for live performances.
All over the map.
And then we get this almost robotic android version of him singing. So, I mean, yeah, the reason this raises so many questions is because obviously Joe has gone into this performance. He wouldn't have said what he's just said before this performance if he knew he was now going to perform live relying on technology for his voice and to hit notes that he can't hit live and isn't hitting live in this way. So that means live, he must have been performing without auto-tune, and this must have been a post-pitch correction thing, or applying auto-tune after the fact. So I'm wondering whether he's even seen this back, and maybe, I mean, just people are going to have to, unfortunately, just tune in to my channel, and it might be the case that professional musicians who are dead against this kind of technology being used will have to check that it's not being used on themselves. They'll have to watch my analysis videos of them to then realise that, oh, hang on, everything that I've just stated I'm dead against, I'm now doing in a performance that literally follows the interview that I've given. Trying to get my head around what's happened, it means that Joe has played and sung live, and then he's just maybe not even been bothered or hasn't made sure that what is then being released is his totally natural performance, and he hasn't made sure that somebody hasn't, totally mullered his voice by snapping it to A440 standard pitch equal temperament. And yeah, unfortunately, it's just obviously it's a bad look for him as a professional because he's against this. But imagine if you didn't see the first part of him being dead against it. People might say, oh, I don't like Joe Walsh's singing because he just relies on auto-tune. I'd rather listen to genuine singers who have that humanity in their voice because, yeah, and somebody else will give the exact same argument because the human voice isn't perfect, and that's what, draws me to the natural human voice and all of the old recordings, so I won't be listening to Joe Walsh because he uses auto-tune. But Joe doesn't know, obviously, that he is now an auto-tuned artist, even on something like this. So it's got to be the case that this is all recorded and then the post-editing isn't appreciated by the singer. Or maybe if Joe has seen this, does he think that he sings like this? Does he think that this sounds natural? I mean, surely looking at it, you think, well, that's a bit weird that I'm perfectly over E4. And then I'm perfectly over D4 and I'm perfectly over E4. So yeah, this is massively edited. And yeah, I don't really know what to say to this other than, maybe, I mean, Joe would be within his rights, given his view and his view on the modern music industry, to demand that this gets taken down. Because this certainly isn't a true representation of him as an artist and what he believes in and the album that he's just written. Because he said that was the motivation to write his album, the one that he's promoting here, because of all of the technology. So then, I mean, unless it's an ironic thing that he's saying that, oh, no, now I really am going to use technology because I'm so against technology, I don't think that's the way that Joe would roll. And I don't think that he'd be performing live with auto-tune. In this case, I think it's got to be just that he's not aware of it on any level. But anyway, and I know that I do get messages on my channel and through email that people say, oh, why don't you just message the person and ask them? I think people assume, because of maybe the subscriber count and some of the interviews that I've done on the channel, that I know everybody, but I don't know everybody, so I can't just message Joe personally and ask for his point of view. Maybe that's something that you guys can do, just point him towards this video, because I think it's really important that artists know that their artistry and their artistic vision is being realised and being released how they want it to be released, and that they aren't seen as an auto-tuned artist, because this is the kind of thing that if people did just see this part of the video and skip past the interview, they would make that assumption, and that assumption on this performance would be true, that it is being calibrated from a vocal perspective. So yeah, like I said, a bit of a strange one for tonight, to have this contradiction in terms so clearly played out in a video, that I think maybe the sound from, you know, Daryl's house, maybe think that people aren't going to notice that there's tuning on the vocals, but I think the more people start getting used to it and the more people watch my channel, you can start to hear it a mile off. You don't even need to see it on the screen that we're calibrated, because even when you slide up and down to notes and, you know, you're just stuck on the D4 and you instantly go up to being stuck perfectly on an E4, you know, that's something that ironically, even a guitar, even Joe, when he's playing a guitar line, he wouldn't be as accurate as this on a stringed, tuned instrument. So yeah, I mean, if he just played a note and didn't bend the string at all, and he was perfectly in tune, then he'd get this. But if he was playing with a bit of vibrato and a bit of feel, and maybe playing with a bit of a bluesy expression, he wouldn't be on the lines. So yeah, why do that to the human voice when you're trying to express yourself through an instrument? You don't then tune your instrument because you were slightly sharp or flat, because you mean for it to be there. It's an intentional little journey into those microtones, because that's how you want it to sound. And it's exactly the same with great singers, but unfortunately in this case, even somebody that's dead against it, they are then seen to be using it very heavily to, you know, tune their vocals for a live performance. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys for asking me to take a look at this, and I certainly understand the reason for this request, because it's just a contradiction in terms when we're looking at the interview and then the performance. But as always, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below, because this just really blows everything open as to maybe even professional musicians don't know that them singing isn't them singing. It might all be going on without their knowledge, but I do find it hard to believe, but this is maybe proof of that. But anyway, thank you guys for requesting this particular video for tonight. Keep those requests coming to requests@wingsofpegasus.com. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!